Welcome to day 66 of my meditation journey, and it seems only appropriate that 66 is a message of unconditional love and trust in what's going to happen. And as I was meditating today, I felt myself drawn to a word which some of you might identify with: relationships. And it got me to a place where I was feeling into the different relationships that I've had with different men, and I felt a sense of fear in my gut, a sense of dread, and I allowed myself to feel the fear, and just allow that fear to be present and to be there. And as I was dropping through this fear, I could feel myself softening, because I know that when I have been in relationships, I have lost a sense of self, a sense of empowerment of who I am. And quite a few of my previous relationships have been dependent upon the other person. So in a state of codependency, relying on them for a lot of things, namely and mostly my happiness. And that was a belief that I've pretty much brought from childhood days, where I always wanted to be told by my father that he was proud of me, but because of the way he was brought up and through no fault of his own, he was doing his very best, and I knew that he loved me. But as a child, I learnt that love was non-demonstrative, that other people's needs came before my own, that I was weak if I showed any feelings. And I can recall clearly how I was always asked to come down and say hello to these friends of theirs who were essentially strangers to me, and then I was given the job of handing out bits of food to them so that they wouldn't have to get up out of the chairs, or they wouldn't have to move from where they were. And it led to a sense of duty that looking after them was more important than looking after my needs. So as I grew up, I found myself being in relationships with men whose needs I placed before mine, who I saw as being, and who demonstrated that they were in some sort of deep pain. And I felt called, I felt driven to rescue them, to help them in some sort of a way, because I saw the greatness that was within them. And I did it with every single relationship that I had. as I entered into the relationship, I was very much a confident woman, very independent, could look after myself. And as the relationship progressed, gradually, and I'm not saying that these men were right for me, but gradually I lost my sense of self, of who I was. I completely blended into what they needed, and my needs were always last. And this led to situations in which I had money stolen from me, in which I felt jealousy because whilst in the relationship, two instances of these men, at least two of them, were at the same time talking to and spending time with and talking and sending messages and being with these other women. And it wasn't normal for me to be jealous because I felt a quite strong sense of independence. But what I'd learned from these relationships is a codependency. So codependency, like for example, if you're feeling a little bit sad or a bit low or a bit not confident, and sometimes, and I do this still today, sometimes I feel the need to reach out on social media to try and gain a sense of being seen again, to gain a sense of validation. And doing this is just a recipe for disaster, because from these relationships I've learned that my sense of confidence, putting my needs first, listening to my own body, that's where my empowerment has come from. That's how I feel the safety to drop into these different feelings that I do today. And sometimes when I'm around friends who are men, I do feel vulnerable in a way, because instead of sometimes expressing myself fully and saying exactly what I'm feeling, I put a wall up, and not everyone knows what I'm feeling. So this is something I'm going to start practicing, being more open and vulnerable around men, and knowing that because I've survived all these different experiences, I've survived these different relationships, it shows me that I can survive anything. I've survived having no money, I've survived jealousy, I've survived my needs being last, and each of these relationships have showed me how resilient I can be, how the belief that I had that strong was the best is actually crumbling, because being strong is not where the courage comes from. The courage comes from being the vulnerable, talking about your feelings openly. So day 66, speaking from my heart, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.